If you can hear the drippy tap in the background, please just pretend that you can't, because it... Good afternoon and welcome to today's video. If you are new here, my name is Lauren, and if you are not, welcome back to another video as always. I just want to say that the lighting may be a bit temperamental in this video. I am using natural light just because I like these videos to just be chill, natural, as unscripted as possible. It is going to be going dark in about an hour's time. It has been 3 months since I did my last emetophobia update, but there's a lot more things to update in this video. So if you clicked on this video for the Citalopram update, I will put a timestamp either in the description or on the screen just so you can skip the rest if you solely want to know about Citalopram and about my side effects and how it's like helped me. There will be like a full section on that. I have made some notes on my phone, but I am just gonna like speak as freely as possible just because I just feel like this is like a chat between me and my fellow sufferers, family members, friends, like anyone that cares about how I'm doing really. Yeah, if you want to know how I've been getting on since August, then stick around and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the thumbs up if you enjoy this video, even though we are going to be talking about some sad things. Since the last video, there's definitely been 4 big changes that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go off on a tangent because that is what I do best, but the 4 main things that I need to speak about in this video is moving out, starting university, citalopram, and finishing the course of treatment that I was doing. Had a bit of a brain malfunction there, but I'm going to start with moving out and starting university just because I feel like it's a good starting place. I remember saying in the last video that it was exactly a month before I was due to move into this flat, and as you can tell, I am still here. I did not give up. I did not move back home like I did with Bath. It was a lot easier than Bath, obviously, because of like distance and stuff, but this place, I absolutely love it. I genuinely, hand on heart, love this flat so much. If we go back to moving day, I had a migraine on moving day, so it felt like a disaster from the very start, to be honest. The whole of moving day, I was like, I can't do it, I've got a headache. It was just a bit of a, I don't know the words for it. The first night I didn't really sleep, and I spent most of the first night thinking to myself like, okay, ring mum, go home, give up, just live at home, get the bus to uni every day. But I was like, no, I'm gonna stand my ground. I've honestly loved living in this flat. Like, I know that I was ready to have my own space. There obviously have been moments where I have thought like, oh my god, get me home. The biggest thing again is cooking. I still haven't used my oven. I've used the hob, but I don't trust the actual oven. I don't think it's clean enough. We have cleaned it several times, but I just don't trust it, so I've never cooked in my oven, only the hob. I also don't trust my fridge, which when I've spoken to some other emetophobes, they've said the same thing when they moved into student accommodation or like their own flat and stuff. They've not been able to drink the tap water, which I don't really drink tap water in my family home either, but I've really struggled with the tap water. If I buy like dairy things, for example, like I'll only eat it the day that I buy it. I won't leave it overnight in the fridge or anything just because I'm scared of getting sick. I don't trust that the fridge stays on overnight. I don't know the logic. I did speak to my therapist about this. He was like basically shocked that someone could have trust issues with a fridge, and we made like a whole joke about it, but genuinely I don't trust that fridge. It's been 3 months and I still won't eat cheese that's been in my fridge for more than 2 hours. So but obviously I did move out for a reason, and that was university, so I'm going to move on to like the university side of things. Now, I knew from the get-go, before I even got my timetable, that uni was going to be one of the hardest things I've done in a very long time. The thought of like having to sit in a lecture or a classroom or anything like that, I was like, that is gonna take it out of me so much, and I just didn't know how I'd be with it. When I got my university timetable, I was very apprehensive to go in the first place because normal universities seem to have a timetable where people are in for like an hour, 2 hours a day, about 2 days a week, but my timetable was 9 till 5:30 most days. So obviously going from doing nothing and being too scared to do everything to going into a 9 to 5, basically what feels like a job, was a huge shift, and it's something that I'm still very much struggling with. I haven't dropped out. I have sometimes sat there and been like, yeah, I can't do this, and I've tried to not let it affect my attendance and stuff, which some days it has, because I've woken up and been like, yeah, I can't do that. Like, it's just taken it out of me so much, and I've been so busy with uni and outside of uni as well. Like, I just feel like I haven't had time to like sit and think and stop, which is a good thing to some extent because I don't have time to think and let intrusive thoughts win, I guess. It's just like a lot for me. Sometimes I have been sat in lectures and I've sat in that class and been like, I need to get out, I need to get out, I need to get out. But what I'll go on to later when I talk about my medication is that I don't think I can reach panic attack level, which has its pros and cons, and I'll go into that later. I have definitely done myself proud, but I do absolutely love university. I don't plan on dropping out. I know that I want to be there. I love everyone on my course, and I have told the university about it. Like, it's on my like student central record that I have this problem. They don't really know much about it, but it's on the form if they ever want to ask me about it and stuff. However, the biggest issue I've had with university is balancing food with uni, just because I struggle to eat in general, but I really struggle to eat when I know that I've got to be somewhere. And obviously being in uni like 9 to 5, it's not ideal to go all of that time most days of the week without eating. So for the first month or so in uni, I didn't have lunch, and then I'd struggle to have tea as well, just because I'd know that 9 o'clock the next morning I'd have to be in uni again. The first month or so in uni, I'd just take a Belvita bar every day, because I'm also scared of being lightheaded, because that makes you feel dizzy and then in turn can make you feel nauseous. As a music student on a performance course, you do need to have energy because you are performing, and I don't really want to pass out mid-performance. So I was taking Belvita bars and Lucozade every day, and then people, not in a mean way, but people started to make a joke like wherever I go there is a Belvita bar and stuff, which is true. They became one of my safe foods. It was one lunchtime about 2 weeks ago, and I just got this urge to be daring. I sometimes get in them reckless moods and then regret it like half an hour later, but I was sat there and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna actually get a Greggs for lunch. And I hadn't had Greggs for a really long time, or if I get Greggs, there was only one thing I get, and that is the ham and cheese baguette, and I take the ham off and then regret getting it because the cheese mightn't have been cold enough. I was sat there this one lunchtime and I was like, you know what, I'm really wanting a Greggs pizza, and I ate the Greggs pizza knowing that I had like 4 hours left in university, which was a huge thing for me, and Mia was proud of me and I was proud of me, and my mum was also proud of me. I messaged my mum and I was like, I just had lunch for the first time in uni, and she started crying. With food, I've mentioned it so many times before, I struggle to eat out just because I don't know who's touching my food. Like, I don't know if the ingredients for that food were stored properly. The fact that I've now been trying to eat lunch most days in uni if I can is huge, and I am so proud of myself for that. And also, if you follow me on my socials, you'll see that I've been doing a lot more socialising and a lot more gigs and stuff. That was another thing I was really dreading. I've definitely done a lot better. I still definitely need to work on juggling food with that. Now, this is something that really upsets me, but basically my nan's roasts have always been my favourite meal, like since I was little, and for about a year I haven't been able to eat a roast with my nan. It just really upsets me because I know that my nan is not going to poison me. I know she's a good cook. Growing up, my nan cooked for me pretty much every day after school when my mum was in work, and I never once got food poisoning from it. So I don't know why all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but gradually it became too much for me to eat at my nan's house. But every week we go around to my nan's on a Friday for tea, we always have, and my mum and dad will eat a roast and I'll just sit there and be like, I wish I could. So last week, for the first time in nearly a year, I started to reintroduce my nan's roast back into my diet. So I started off with just having like a roast potato, and then I had some carrots and a little bit of meat, and I'm just gradually getting back on the bandwagon with that, which I think made my nan happy as well. Every week we go and she'll be like, are you sure you didn't want anything? And I'll be like, no, it's fine, like I don't want anything to eat. And she'll be like, I won't poison you, like it's all in date and stuff. And I'm like, I know. I just love my nan. So I'm now going to move on from food because I've been talking about it for what feels like 10 years, and I'm going to move on to therapy, treatment and citalopram. I was about a month into therapy, I think, when I last did a video. It might have been like 2 or 3 months into therapy actually, but I have actually finished that round of treatment. We pretty much went through everything that we could, and every session we just felt like we were going over the same thing. We decided that because I'd started the medication that we were going to like call it quits on the sessions, and if I ever needed any more in the future I could get back, which was a bit scary to be honest, because I definitely wasn't cured, I wasn't recovered, and I was like a bit disheartened, I guess. I didn't really feel like therapy should have been over for me because I was still in a very bad place when we did that last session, and I was kind of just left to my own devices. But I feel like it was also good timing because I was just starting uni and I'd been given all of these like techniques to try out, but I hadn't really been doing anything that daring and that out there to put them into practice. So I feel like not quitting therapy because I didn't choose to quit, like the sessions ended, going to uni and socialising more, I was able to put them into practice and stuff in real life situations rather than just like in my bedroom. I've definitely got a lot more brave with a lot of things thanks to therapy. Like I'm definitely in a better place because of it. Not cured, probably will need therapy in a few years because I still don't want to carry on a life like this. I'd still like to get better, but I'm definitely in a much better place. Like I know that for a fact, everyone knows that, and I'm really glad we did go through with more therapy, even though I was really apprehensive bothered because I've done it so many times before. But another reason the therapy ended was because I just started citalopram. I've mentioned in so many videos before that for years I was absolutely terrified to start medication. I hated the idea of it so much. The idea of putting this chemical in my body and not knowing what it was going to do to me, whether I was going to be sick from the side effects, like whether it was going to send me weird in the head. I just didn't know. And I know that there's a lot of mixed emotions and mixed opinions when it comes to medications, which I definitely noticed when I posted my first week on citalopram vlog. There was a lot of interesting comments on that video. I was never against them because I thought they were like bad or wrong. I was just absolutely terrified of them. But I was at the point where I was like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I've tried everything. And I never wanted to talk about this in a video just because I don't ever like to bring it to light, just because it is one of my biggest insecurities and I don't think people even notice it, so I don't know why I'm so insecure about it. I'm just gonna get into it even though I don't want to talk about it. I have this tick in my throat. Like, I've always had it. I've always had a nervous cough. I've always had this like thing that I do in my throat. It's really hard to explain, and I've spoke to doctors about it. I've spoke to psychiatrists, therapists, and they've all said that it's not noticeable, but they kind of understand what I'm on about, but they also don't at the same time. But I always used to have it when I was younger. Like, we'd be on holiday. It was only ever when I was nervous for something or I was in like a scary situation, and it was nothing that bothered me. But in the summer, when like my anxiety had been really bad, my tick got so much worse. So I did notice that it was an anxiety tick and it wasn't anything like physiological. And everyone I spoke to in like the professional industry was like, you need to try meds if you want to stop this tick, because it's obviously a symptom of anxiety and all the techniques you've been doing for anxiety haven't helped the tick. But the tick did get to the point where if I did socialise and left the house for too long, when I get home I couldn't speak because my throat would just be like ticking. It's really awkward to speak about because people don't notice it until I point it out, and I feel like everyone's gonna notice it now after I've spoken about it in this video. My mum saw how like upset it'd make me because I couldn't speak a sentence because like my throat would get in the way. A lot of the time, like when I'm like sat one-to-one with people, like I'll sit like that so people don't see my throat moving. But when I first started the medication, the tick did subside a little bit. It was still definitely there, but it was also not as like angry, if that's the right word. But I don't know, I've just got used to the medication, but it's definitely like getting worse again, and I'm like, oh my god, please don't. I am really embarrassed by it. I wasn't even going to talk about the tick in this video. I didn't have any notes on my tick, but I'm going to go into depth about citalopram now. So if you clicked on this video to hear about citalopram, you have reached your destination, because I'm going to talk about that section of the video now. I'm going to start off with like the bad side effects that I've had, and when I say bad side effects, it's not enough to like scare anyone off or scare myself. Like, they're not that bad, but they are not exactly good side effects either, if that makes sense. So the main one that I've noticed is like change in emotion. I was always such an emotional person. I was on the edge of being an unstable person, to be honest, because I would cry at everything. I'd tear up at the most stupid things like several times a day. However, now after 3 months on citalopram, I'm the complete opposite, and I noticed that side effect within the first week, which I did mention in my first week on citalopram vlog, which I'll link in the iCard above. I noticed that I wasn't crying at things that I would usually cry at, and I wasn't that concerned at the start because I was like, oh, like I've heard it's quite a common side effect and that it like goes away. 3 months later, it still hasn't. Like, I've hardly cried. Like, I've gone from crying several times a day to crying about 3 times in 3 months. Like, it's mad. It's kind of like hard to let emotion out as well. Like, when I said earlier in the video that I haven't been able to reach full-blown panic attack level, and I was like, there's pros and cons with that. Like, it's great because I've got more confidence to go out and know that I'm not gonna have a full-blown meltdown, but I also still get the emotions that lead up to the panic attack, but then I kind of feel stuck because I have all this like panic and emotion building up, but I know that I don't have a way of letting it out, so I just have to kind of sit there. And sometimes I still have to like take myself out of a situation because I'm sat there and I'm like, my head feels like it's about to roll off my body. Like, it's that heavy. There was one instance where I ended up having to get Mia, and we went and sat outside for a bit because I was like, I just can't be in my band room because I need to have a panic attack. Like, I need that outlet, but I can't cry, I can't go into panic attack. Like, I've just got to sit there with all of this like stuff going on in my brain. Do you know when you just want to have like a big fat cry but you can't? There's 2 side effects, right? And I don't know if they're to do with citalopram. When I spoke to the doctors about them, they said it probably is, but I also have side effects that I have from Emeto that are nothing to do with the medication. So I've noticed a lot of hair loss. Like, I have a lot of hair on my head, which I'm glad about, because if I didn't have a lot of hair on my head, I think I'd be like nearing bald. And like, I was concerned about it, but not that concerned. And then I told my mum and showed my mum how much was actually coming out, and she was like, that's not really normal. And I was like, oh god, okay. And also bruising. I bruise like a peach. So I don't know if that's a side effect of the medication. Doctors have said that it could be. However, I did go for blood tests and it came back that I am not anemic, but I'm lacking the protein that, let me word this properly, I'm lacking the protein that stores the iron, so my body's not making enough iron because there's nowhere to store it because I'm lacking the protein that stores it, if that makes sense. As I was too scared to take the citalopram, I'm now back in that situation where I've got another medication that I'm too scared to take, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. They are the bad side effects. I think they're all of the bad side effects that I've got. I thought I'd deleted all my notes then. That nearly made me cry. As I said, there's not many bad ones. Like, sometimes I feel a bit out of it, sometimes I feel a bit strange, but that also could be just anxiety. I'm still very much an anxious person, but I just can't have a panic attack. Best thing that's come out of this medication, I'd say, is the sleep. Like, my sleep has got so much better. I'm falling asleep, not really fast, but like, I'm able to fall asleep without tossing and turning for hours every night. So my starting dose was 10 milligrams and I thought I'd be on that for 2 weeks, but then I spoke to my, was it the GP? I think it was the GP that I spoke to, and she was like, no, it's too early to like up your dose and stuff. So I waited a little bit and spoke to my psychiatrist, and then he gave me the okay last week or the week before. So I was on 10 milligrams for about 2 months, and then I've now gone up. Well, I haven't fully gone up to 20 milligrams yet. I've like gradually been going up, but I have already noticed that it's messed with my sleep again and that I've been a bit more anxious. So I'm glad I didn't jump from 10 to 20, because I've heard from other people that they really felt like the jolt in side effects again. I am overall so happy that I started citalopram. Like, I was so apprehensive about it. I was terrified of it for years, but I'm just so glad that I did, because I didn't think I could be in my flat right now or be going to uni every day or socialising or anything like that if I wasn't on this medication. So that was probably the biggest step I've ever taken in recovery. I have definitely noticed that physical anxiety symptoms have subsided a little bit, so I can do more, but the intrusive thoughts and actual emetophobia, like the fear, is still as bad as it ever was. Me and Stephen went to Manchester to see Sam Fender, and that day I was too scared to eat just because I hadn't been that far away from my house since Bath. It was always going to be a bit of an interesting day, but my brain would not let me leave the flat unless I took a bag with me on the train, like a plastic bag, in case I was sick. Like, there was no way I was getting on that train if I didn't have a sick bag. The thought of having a sick bag in my bag also terrified me, because that made it feel like I was going to be sick, but my brain was like, you have to take one though, because what if you are and you've got nowhere to be sick? So I ended up taking bin bags on the train with me to Manchester, and me and Stephen did just laugh about it, to be honest. But in my brain I was like, oh my god, there's a sick bag in my bag, I'm going to be sick. So I did take my little survival kit. I took my Lucozade, my ginger biscuits, my Pringles, just to keep my sugar up. But when we were going through like the searches to get into Sam Fender, it all got taken off me, and I was like, oh shit. I understood why they took it off me for like health and safety reasons, but I was like, if only you knew. But a few other intrusive thoughts like on a daily basis that I get, just so like, just in case anyone else gets these and feels a bit alone with them, I feel like these might be quite common in the emetophobic community. So some other ones I get are when I go to Tesco and buy a meal deal, I will like search for the meal deal, see which one looks the safest. They all look the same. In my brain something clicks and it's like, yeah, that's the safest one. I sometimes get home and I'll go to eat my Tesco meal deal, and then my brain will be like, wait, that packet was open, wasn't it? It wasn't open, but my brain will be like, well, what if that packet was open? Like, did you check that it was like completely sealed? Or what if the fridge in Tesco was broken? And same when I go to Greg's. Like, I went to Greg's the other day and got a ham and cheese baguette, and it didn't feel as cold as it usually does according to my brain. So I was really paranoid after eating that. I remember a few weeks ago I'd cooked pasta for tea, safest food ever, and I had to cook 4 batches of pasta until one felt safe. But I definitely do think emetophobia is turning into OCD, and I'm not self-diagnosing, I'm not saying that at all, but it's getting a lot more intrusive than it used to be. So next time I speak to my psychiatrist, I think I am going to bring that up and just be like, I don't think this is just emetophobia anymore, because I've done loads of emetophobia treatments and nothing's really done anything. Like, my generalized anxiety has definitely got a lot better on citalopram and stuff, but emetophobia is as apparent as ever, which is something I'll obviously talk about in my next video. And I've been talking for absolutely ages. I'm quite surprised that the lighting still looks alright, because it is pitch black outside, and I don't know why the lighting actually looks better than it was when I started the video. But I'm going to round the video up now, just because I think I've touched on everything that I needed to. As always, I hope this resonated with somebody. I hope you're all doing okay, and if you are struggling with emetophobia, just know I am so proud if you're struggling with your brain in any aspect of life, I'm so proud, because it's just not understood how bloody hard it is. You're doing absolutely amazing, and I hope life treats you well sometimes, because life is starting to treat me better, but it's just the emetophobia that's still like getting in on that and trying to ruin it all, and we aren't going to let that happen because we are stronger than our brains. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're all doing well. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below if you'd like to see more. Overall, I am doing much better than I have been doing, and I just love you all so much. So thank you for being here, and I shall hopefully see you in my next video.